Why, hello, my loves, and welcome back to Spook Manor. Are you here for a classic legend with a terrifying twist? Well, I've quite the rabbit hole for you. Would you care to join me as we go in search of the infamous Bunny Man Bridge? Our story begins on a cool Halloween night in Clifton, Virginia, where three friends find themselves watching horror movies in the basement of a small suburban home. Courtney sits bored on the couch as her two friends, Michelle and Aaron, are making out on the far end. As the movie ends and the credits begin without acknowledgement from the groping couple, Courtney takes it upon herself to get their attention by swatting them softly with a pillow. It was obviously not the Halloween get-together she had planned. The night had been slow. They had watched all of their movies, and the snacks had long since dwindled. But the lovers had their way of keeping each other amused, and this left Courtney feeling like a third wheel. So she decided to make things interesting. There had to be something exciting they could do with this night, and she had the perfect idea in mind. "Let's go to the Bunny Man Bridge," she suggested with a twinkle in her eye. When Aaron looked confused and inquired about the bridge, both girls laughed at him. They had all grown up together, and the urban legend was common knowledge to everyone in the area. Stories of the Bunny Man sightings had been circulating around schools as far back as they could all remember. But Aaron stayed blank, and Michelle finally spoke up. The legend goes that in 1904, there was an insane asylum in the area, and the people of Fairfax County wanted it torn down. The people finally won, and the state had to move the inmates to a new institution. Well, somehow a bunch of them escaped while they were being transferred. Apparently, the police found all of them except for two, a guy named Marcus Loster and another named Douglas Griffin. Just when they thought they would never find them, authorities noticed a bunch of dead, half-eaten bunnies on a trail in the forest. They followed the trail to Colchester Overpass and found the body of Marcus hanging from the bridge with a handwritten note pinned to his leg that read, "You will never find me, no matter how hard you try," and it was signed the Bunny Man. Well, still, no one could find Griffin. As time passed, more people, including children, were found dead. All of them were hung from the bridge. The townspeople got very upset. They say that the police, or a mob, finally found Douglas Griffin and chased him to the bridge, where he climbed up onto the tracks to escape, and he was hit by a train. They said that he laughed when he was struck and continued to laugh until he died. It is believed that you can still hear him laughing there at night, and that his ghost will kill you by hanging if you go there at midnight on Halloween. Dun dun dun! Michelle ended with a laugh. "Whoa, scary." Aaron rolled his eyes and turned to his phone. With a bored demeanor, his attention quickly turned to texting. Although the legend seemed lost on Aaron, the girls talked themselves into a frenzy. With Courtney's parents out of town, there was no way they were going to miss an opportunity like this. As Aaron showed disinterest and complained about the crowds that have been known to form at the bridge this time of year, thanks to the popularity of the legend, he secretly had other ideas in mind. Unbeknownst to the girls, Aaron's cousin Brian had recently moved to the area from Georgia. Conveniently, his family had purchased a large home with wooded acreage that butted up to the infamous bridge, providing an ideal location for the prank he had in mind. He reached out to his cousin via text with a sinister plan to terrify the girls, and Brian was more than happy to comply. With their secret scheme in motion, Aaron put his phone on silent mode to prevent the girls from noticing any messages that came in, and Brian made a mad dash to the store in hopes of acquiring the necessary Bunny Man mask for the gag. The plan was to meet in the woods just before midnight, which meant they had to leave quickly. As Aaron and the two girls made their way down the road, Courtney excitedly told her version of the Bunny Man tale. You know, there was never actually an institution in Fairfax. The real story of the Bunny Man started in the 1970s when an Air Force Academy cadet named Robert Bennett and his girlfriend pulled into a field off of Guinea Road in Burke. Apparently this was across the street from a relative or something. Anyway, as they were sitting there, suddenly an axe smashed through the passenger window, and a crazy man started screaming at them, "You're on private property, and I have your tag number." Luckily, they escaped, but it made the news. When Erin pointed out that story had nothing to do with a man in a bunny mask, she continued. According to actual police reports, 10 days after the incident with the cadet and his girlfriend, a security guard was at a subdivision of newly constructed homes near the woods, and he saw a man in a suit with a bunny head mask on. The bunny man started yelling at him, "You're trespassing! If you come any closer, I'll chop off your head." And then he began chopping at one of the porch posts with a large axe he was holding. There were over 50 reported sightings of the bunny man right after this. A woman named Patricia Johnson did a whole research paper on it. Rumor has it that lots of people have been killed by the bunny man over the decades, found either axed or hung by the bridge. They claim that there had been at least one death every year since the 1970s. People also find dead bunnies all over the woods to this day. Courtney finished with wide eyes, and an ominous silence fell over the group. The night was dark as Erin pulled into Brian's property, crossing the large field and making their way towards the woods. Michelle's yellow feathers were beginning to show, as she noted that neighbors have been known to report trespassers to police and suggested that maybe they should turn back. Although the girls had no idea, they did have permission to be there. But Erin played it up, teasing them about being cowards, and continued on to the boys' conspired location. A gentle fog had rolled in, providing the perfect creepy atmosphere as they pulled up to the tree line. Erin shined the headlights into the woods, and they debated on how to proceed. They sat for about 5 minutes arguing and teasing each other about who was the biggest scaredy cat. It was when Erin saw a flash in the distance that appeared to be metal reflecting off of his headlights that he silenced the group. Pointing to the trees, he said, "What's that?" The girls held their breath and stared intensely into the woods. Erin fought a sinister smile as the girls sat frozen. He knew that flash must be Brian's cue, signaling him that he was ready for the big scare. The girls screamed as a shadowy form appeared out of the mist from behind a large pine. Slowly, the shape moved towards them, and the girls stared in disbelief. Erin could have won an award for his acting skills that night as he led his friends on in fear. As the figure came closer, it became apparent that they were seeing a man adorned with a bunny head mask and a large axe in hand. The girls began yelling at Erin to drive off. Now this was his chance to really terrify them. He jumped out of the car and began to holler insults at the masked man. The girls panicked and pleaded with Erin to please get back in the car. Suddenly, Erin and the figure started running towards each other. And just as suddenly, Erin made a quick turn to run circles around the vehicle. Just as he ran past the passenger door towards the back, he fully expected Brian to chase him. The sharp end of the axe came down hard on the hood of his car, and Erin nearly wet himself. Shocked at the sight, Erin screamed a curse word about the damage. The masked man then took another hard swing at the hood, and then at the windshield, and then made his way around the car towards Erin. It was a hit to the passenger side door that made the axe head fly off of its wooden handle, and Erin stood in disbelief. Rage flooded his veins at the stupidity of his cousin and the devastation being done to his precious automobile. He ran angrily towards the masked man with the intent to tackle and was knocked down by a hard blow to the stomach from the broken axe. The man then began to beat him furiously and started screaming about trespassers. Courtney climbed over the front seat and began honking the horn in desperation to save her friend's life. But the real hero here was Michelle, who thought to swing open the passenger door, knocking the assailant to the ground. She reached out to Erin, who struggled to climb into the vehicle with what little strength he had. Although dangerous, Courtney hit the gas before Erin was fully inside. After being dragged several feet, he finally managed to climb in. It was only moments later that they made it to the road, escaping onto the damp street. Everyone seemed to be screaming, and no one was being heard, until Erin began to curse Brian's name between gasps of pain and outrage. With his friend and girlfriend demanding to know what happened, Erin filled them in on his little prank. Enraged, they insisted that he call Brian. But there was no need. There were 11 text messages from Brian asking Erin to pick him up. He had apparently had a flat tire and was stranded on a dirt road about 15 miles away from where they were supposed to meet. The teens made a police report at the hospital where Aaron was checked out. Although they were fortunate to have survived the Bunny Man attack, most people who encounter him never live to tell the tale. As numerous reports, sightings, and deaths continue to this day, the terrifying legend of the Bunny Man will continue to haunt the kindly residents of Clifton, Virginia. So tell me, my loves, have you been to Colchester Overpass in Virginia? Have you yourself seen the Bunny Man? Please comment down below and like and subscribe for more fictional stories that are often of actual urban legends and sometimes have historical reference. See you next week and have a good night.